Hello, welcome to Game Development with Scratch. This is lesson 3. No, PowerPoint slide for the introduction, but because today we are going to be all working within Scratch to make, an actual project. We're going to start using, different blocks, and we're going to, in this scenario, we're going to make like a little storytelling project, okay? So, what I have here is some stuff set up. I have a button, I have a dragon, and I have a desert background. Now I want this dragon to be hidden for the beginning of the project. So that's why I have this when green flag clicked hide. So whenever the start button is hit, it'll be hidden. And this button, I got it by going to the library, hitting button 1, and I used the fill. This, you can see here, this fill will fill different parts of the button with a certain color. So I made it blue and brown. I guess you could say orange, but blue and brown. But don't mind that for now, because I'm going to work on this cat, okay? So last lesson, we went over different sprites, what sprites are, what they do, the different kinds of blocks, right? Costumes. So now we're going to be using all of that into fleshing out an actual project for us to use and interact with. So we have all of this. I'm going to hide my green dragon for now, just because I don't want to see it, even though it will be important later on. So let's keep this cat over here, and I want this cat to walk over to the button, and it'll interact with the button. So to do that, we're going to use our when green flag clicked. That's our start button. So at the beginning of the program, we're going to first, this is very important for all your sprites, if you're moving them or doing something with them, please use this, because this will set your sprite's initial position. You see how I'm right now at -108, -103? Instead of having to memorize that, I can just grab a go-to-X block. And so when the project is run, when the green flag is clicked, it'll automatically set itself at that coordinate, right? I don't need to memorize, I don't need to write it down and plug it in. And what's really convenient about Scratch is, wherever, let's say I want it to be here, those go-to blocks, they automatically update with the sprite's current location. So, and also, if I ever want to figure out what a block does, I can just click the block and it'll run. So if I click these blocks, it'll run, boom, right there. And I want it to walk. So to do that, I'm going to use two different kinds of blocks. This glide block, which will help the help the sprite kind of seamlessly glide and move across the screen. And I'm going to use a costume block, which is going to switch it to its second costume here, its little running animation. And because I want it in this costume initially, I'm going to say at the very beginning, switch costume to costume 1. So, and next I'm going to introduce something new, which is called a comment. So if you right click on the screen and click add comment, you can say something like sets initial costume and location for sprite. And a comment is just like a little note. You can see how it looks like a sticky note. It's just there to help document your code and tell you or whoever's on your code what does what and what its purpose is. So it doesn't actually affect the gameplay of your project. So now I'm going to use that glide button, and let's say I'm going to have it glide about over here. And since it updates my current location with the glide block, same with the go-to block, we're going to have it here, and we're going to switch its costume so that it can have a little running animation. It's going to be a little janky, but it's fine. And then we're going to move it over here. We'll say over here. That'd be pretty good, right? And then glide, switch costume to costume 1. Let's see how that looks. Looks pretty good. Okay, so once it's there, right, I'll add a comment just to make sure I know what does what. I'm going to say walks/glides to the button. Okay? Then, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have it saying, and then I don't really need this because I know it's touching the block, but this is going to be good just for future use. I'm going to use an if block. So if the cat is touching the button 1, then do this. Okay, this is really important, especially for code later on. This is, it's called a conditional. Conditional. So if you know what a condition is, that's basically a true or a false, right? So this blue thing goes inside of this. This is your condition, right? So if it's touching the button 1, then whatever in here will happen. If it's not, right, let's say, I don't know, I say hello, right? If it's not touching button 1, then it will not say hello, and it'll only run whatever's after this. Okay? So do you see how that works? Okay, this is very important. So if it's touching button 1, we'll say hello, and we'll play a sound. Let me increase my volume so you guys can hear it. I don't know if it'll hear on the, you can hear it on the video, but we'll play, let's see what sounds they have. Alert. No, it's kind of loud. Well, they have a lot of sounds. We'll click this bonk, we'll do this bonk sound, and we'll do, I want to try and use blocks from all different kinds of categories. We'll say play start sound bonk. Okay? Bonk. And then when that happens, that's when I want the dragon to appear. And this is another very important block. This is going to be called a broadcast. Broadcast message 1. So let me quickly explain what this does, okay? Because this can be kind of confusing if you have no idea what this does. A broadcast is like an invisible message sent from one thing to another, okay? It's basically an event, right? So when I'm going to go over here, I'm going to say when I receive message 1. So basically what that's doing is, after this sprite is done gliding, walking over to the button, it touches the button, says hello, plays the sound bonk, then it sends an invisible message. No, you don't see it, you don't hear it, nothing. It's just between the orange cat and the dragon. It sends that message to the dragon sprite, and when that dragon sprite receives that message, aka once that message is sent and it gets to the dragon, then the dragon will run certain code. Let me show you a little demonstration of what that looks like. We'll say, and now I want the dragon to appear. We'll say, show. Right? Let's run this all together. Walks over, says hello, the dragon appears. You see how it's very automatic, right? There's really no delay with broadcasts. Okay? It's an invisible message sent from this to this, like at an almost instant, to do whatever you want. And actually, I'm going to position this dragon up here. And it's a little small, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. We'll say 80. There we go. Big dragon. Okay? And because I want the dragon to move later on in my code, I want to save this spot. Okay? And you guessed it, I'm using this block right here. Very, very important. Go to X and Y. And because I want this to be its initial position, I'm going to do that at the very beginning when the green flag is clicked. There's a lot of information. I hope you're following along. But yeah. Okay, and if you really need to, if you understand it, but you might get confused later on, please feel free to add a comment. Say hello. Actually, I don't want it to say hello. I want it to change colors. I want the cat to change colors. I'm gonna get rid of this. If I ever want to get rid of a block, I can just move it off to the side where the other blocks are, and that'll delete it. Change color effect by 25. There we go. Okay? And now we can have the dragon actually interact with the cat. Okay? Actually, we'll have it interact with the user. Okay? I want to use blocks from the sensing blocks. And that's going to be another very important block that we're going to use. It's going to be the ask block. This is what's going to actually interact with the user. Right? The user now gets to answer something. And we'll say, do you know this cat? Question mark. And then we can say enter yes or no. Okay? So that's gonna literally, I'll show you. It'll say, I'll click the button. Do you know this cat? Enter yes or no. And I will say no, right? And once I enter it, it'll disappear. So I'm gonna have that. Okay, let's reset everything. I'll click the stop button for now. Actually, well, let's play it out. See where we're at so far. Okay, looks good. Click the stop button. And now we're going to use our answer, okay? The answer is going to be our, whatever we enter into the question that the dragon asks us. And so if you have multiple ask buttons, the answer is always going to be the, what we enter, our answer to the very latest question. So if let's say I have, 3 different ask blocks and you're wondering, well, is the answer, which answer does it align to? It's always going to be the latest one. Whatever the latest one was is going to be the answer. Okay, I hope you understand that kind of a little abstract concept, but the answer is whatever we enter into this is going to be stored. And so now, just like we used here, I'm going to use an if block. Okay, again, very important. Okay, so I would say, let's take a little pause because I'm going kind of fast, but some of the most important blocks that we've gone over are the if block, let me go over here, the if block, the broadcast block, and the ask block. Those 3 are very important. So we'll say if, this is kind of a wacky game, but just roll with it, if. And now we're going to use our operators, okay? This is going to be our calculations, okay? If answer equals yes, right? If we say yes to the dragon's question, then the dragon will, does it have any costumes? It does. Okay, so it has a fire-breathing costume. We'll have it switch to its fire-breathing costume and say rawr, right? Switch costume to dragon C. Say, for 2 seconds, rawr. Okay? And because we're switching the costume, what do we need to do? We need to initialize its costume. We need to make sure that it's always in costume A at the beginning so that, because unfortunately with Scratch, it doesn't remember to have something set automatically. We need to do that ourselves. So let's run this and see where we are. Walk. Yes, I do know this cat. There you go. And so if I entered anything other than yes in that exact format with the capitalization, it wouldn't switch its costume. It wouldn't say rawr, okay? It would only do that if I entered yes to its question, okay? I think that's what we're at 12 minutes, so I think I'm going to stop there. So, and I'll just cover over the different, and I actually want to cover the different blocks, okay? A little bit more thoroughly. So that's how we're going to start, making an actual project, right? There's so much we can do with Scratch, okay? There's so much we can do. So make sure to save, okay? In the top right corner. Okay, let's go over here. So first, when green flag click, that's always going to be your -- starting block, okay? Because that will set up everything when the project starts. I want the Scratch, I want the Sprite, I want the orange cat to go to this location at the very beginning. It'll be in its first costume, and then it'll glide over, switch its costume to its running costume, then switch back to hit the button. If it is touching the button, then it'll change its color. Again, if it's not touching the button, then it will not change its color. Then it'll hit the bonk sound, and then it'll broadcast the message 1 to the dragon. Once that dragon receives that message, here, when I receive message 1, it'll appear. It'll ask us a question. Do you know this cat? Enter yes or no. And if we do enter yes to its question, it'll say roar and breathe fire. Okay, that's very important. So make sure to save. And that's where we are at. Okay, I will save this project. We're going to use this in lesson 4, and we're going to use a little bit. We're going to start build more on it. We're going to use different kinds of blocks. We might use some more advanced blocks, and we'll kind of make a bigger, better game with it. So try it out for yourself. Mess around with all the different types of blocks, different types of backdrops. Make your own costumes. You can get a little artistic if you want. There's so much creativity to be found here. Go have fun. Thanks for watching.